Move to the left. Move to the left.
Well, I just finished another day. I decided to whip down to the steelhead hole here out back and throw the camera, float the camera down it a few times, see if there's any fish in there. If there's anything worthy of looking at, I'll put it on this video for everybody else to see. And this might be a little too loud. This camera picks up everything. But what the hell, I'm gonna share one here, and then I'm gonna take the quad and go farther down. This might be too much noise for some people. It is titled Tree People. Hello Steve, Happy New Year. I know you received many emails and not have time to read them all. Should you have an opportunity to read my message, please do not share my name. I'm still employed in the legal profession. I'm 66 years old. I've always had a fear of the woods, forest, or any place that blocks my view due to trees. My family's always teased me because I would tell them I won't go there because of the tree people. 3 years ago, I asked my dad why I had this fear. This is what he said. In the late 1960s, at Mount Rainier in Washington State, he pulled off the road to let me and my brother go for a short walk in the forest. I was 5, my brother was 6. My dad told us not to go far, and when he honked, we should return to the car. It was the 60s, a different time, an innocent time. We had not been on a walk long when I returned to the car screaming and crying, saying the tree people were chasing me. My brother did not see anything, and my dad was harsh with him because he didn't stay close to help me. My dad said I described the 2 tree people as tall, taller than my 6-foot dad, dark hair all over their body, and walked on 2 feet, like people. The tree people saw me and started walking towards me, not saying anything. My 5-year-old mind didn't know what else to call them. They're in the forest or trees, and that is what I called them, tree people. My dad said after that he never let you kids walk alone in the forest. I think it scared him, as I don't recall stopping on the side of the road again. Watching your YouTube channel, I now believe the tree people are Sasquatch. I also know from you that if the tree people wanted to catch me or hurt me, they could have done so. Thank you for helping understand a mystery that has existed for over 60 years. I'm not sure my age will ever get over my fear, but at least I understand it. Yeah, no doubt. And if you, one thing is for sure though, whatever we're scared of, there's a reason for it. Maybe it is a reason for preservation, maybe it's just because we had a bad encounter with something, including a dentist, or a broken bone, or a doctor. Our Halloween costume scared the shit out of you, but I know one thing. If there's a patch of timber or a mountain or a place that makes you feel scared or full of anxiety, now you listen to it. That's what I know. Anyway, I'm gonna pack up and take a burn down the road, go to the other spot. It's pretty loud here. I'll bet it sounds like static electricity on the video. So I'll go down to that pool, maybe even throw the camera in there and see if there's anything in there yet. Who knows? I'll be back in a minute. All right, I'm gonna get a couple quick casts, 1 or 2, and then I'm gonna get some shares out. But I don't have my waders on. I wasn't planning on doing this. It was last spur of the moment. So if there's something worthy on here, I will share it with you guys on the video. Here we go, recording. Here we go. See how far I get that out there. Water looks pretty clear, so it should be able to film across the river pretty good. Then it spun around the wrong way, of course. go. Alright, so while I was setting up the camera, I 110% heard a noise back there on the timber, the very farthest point of water you can see. Without a doubt, I just heard something there. Could have been a beaver tail, I don't know. But I'm gonna zoom in on that shoreline after this and do a close-up of that shoreline all around. Anyways, I always think of stuff I want to share with everybody or talk about before I get here, and I never write anything down. Then when I get here, I go blank. But one thing I would like to share with you guys, I know there's possibly some of my friends or acquaintances that try to get a hold of me, and other people try to get a hold of me all the time. And one thing I can share with you, it's easy for me to do this. I absolutely love hearing from as many people as I can, especially people that are as passionate about I am as the outdoors. But I know for me, my best place to gain knowledge is from people, and obviously, and from my own experiences. First-hand experience is going to make my knowledge base blow up. But also, my number one best place for me to get knowledge is from all the people. So that makes what I'm doing easy. It's easy for me to do this. I enjoy it. I look forward to it, and I soak up as much knowledge from all of you as I can and share as much as well. But one of the downsides, one of the shittier things that comes with this, what I'm doing, is, you know, by the time I check all of my emails in the morning, which is substantial, I get messages on social media. Obviously they're knocked down now because I've been blocked from Messenger and blocked from Facebook because I don't think Facebook needs my phone number. I'm not going to give it to them. But it's to the point where my phone goes off. I can't stand my phone because when I'm done doing this, I'm done editing, I'm done checking my email, then I have a whole shit pile of work and other items to do with regular life. And the phone doesn't stop. I can't stand my phone. And then there's no service on my property. Outside the house, there's no cell phone service. So I work my ass off all day long, and then I rip off and try to get an hour, 2 hours in to do this, and then I get back home, and then I hit the editing program, and I'm nonstop fighting with my computer and editing, and SD cards and loading, and the program crashing sometimes. It all adds up to being like, holy shit. But I get a pile of people trying to text me, and I get so many texts and messages. It's to the point I hear my phone go, and I just want to hit it with a hammer. And I miss so many. I'll get 50 up to 60 frickin' texts in a day or 2 days, and I just can't do it. And then the unfortunate part is people take it personally that I'm not messaging them back. They take it personally, and then I'm an asshole, and then I get hate messages on top of all the hate email that I get. People blowing a gasket on me for the most insane things. Strangers. It's like I'm doing something to them, you know? So that's the only one of the negative parts of this, is the amount of hate and anger and frustration that I receive non-stop. It's like non-stop. So I guess that's what I'm trying to share with all you out there, other people who are friends of mine or acquaintances of mine. It's just not easy, okay? I'm not by my phone and working my phone all the time. I try to spend as little time with this damn thing as I can to try to keep a little bit of sanity, right? All right, enough babbling. Let's get on with it. There's voices to be heard, stories to be heard that are more interesting than my little frickin' whines and cries. But guess what? So I'm passing on to everybody out there. If you have my phone number and you're trying to text me and get a hold of me, it's not going to be easy. All right? If you're trying to message me on social media, it's next to impossible. So you just got to be patient with me, please. Here we go. This is titled Desert Monkey with art by... I hate it when they start off with their name, because then I'll start reading down and say, don't share my name. Or at the end, they'll wait to the end and say, don't share my name. It says now, it's shared by Stacy Polk. P-O-L-K. Hi, Steve and the HTH Hunt family, and Merry Christmas to all. All right, this is a December email. You can use my name for my experience, but I'm going to include another researcher's name that I think you should watch and maybe even contact at the bottom. He has puzzle pieces I think you'll find interesting. Please keep his organization's name to yourself, unless it's okay with him if you decide to contact him. I don't want to cause him any grief from the weasels, if you know what I mean. Actually, you know what? I don't ever mention names or promote anybody. I don't promote anybody or anything on here, except for the people's experiences, all right? Even when people say, share my YouTube channel, I never do. I drew a picture of my experience, but due to my challenged artistic abilities, you'll have a little chuckle, especially of the VW car. No biggie. My story. In January, February 74, when I was 18 and a half years old, my girlfriend Mona drove me to Las Vegas to move some of my things. I was due to get married on March 16th that year, so it was a twofold trip to see my fiancée, who was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base, or Nellis Air Force Base there, and to move some personal belongings in anticipation of our upcoming wedding. After spending 2 days in Vegas, Mona and I were driving back home to LA in Mona's mom's olive green VW. It was early evening on the I-15 from Vegas to LA, maybe around 8 p.m., and it was fairly dark and very windy. We happened to be driving through the Mojave Desert with tumbleweeds blowing all over the two-lane highway going in both directions. To our left was a wide swath of grass separating our two lanes from the two lanes heading back towards Vegas. Mona and I had been kind of quiet for a while, just enjoying the ride, when I looked off towards the grassy meridian after something had caught my eye. What I saw was a monkey running from the edge of the grassy area across the two opposite lanes from us and into the black desert. I can distinctly remember how it looked as it ran on all fours. Dark, no tail, running, just like a chimpanzee. It's probably the size of a coyote. But its back was round, not straight, as it ran. Picture a chimp running fast on all fours, and that's what I saw. I yelled, "I just saw a monkey," which startled Mona, who was looking all around for it as she drove. LOL. I told her, I swear, I just saw a monkey run across the highway on the side and into the desert. I recently asked Mona if she remembers this, and she doesn't. I know this isn't a very exciting experience, but the fact that these sabe are seen in high desert environments and around military installations in desert areas makes me think I saw a young one hightailing it from one side of a not-so-busy desert highway to get to the other side. The reason I could see it in the dark windstorm was because the highway emitted a bit of a glow from the oncoming cars driving that direction into Nevada. To be honest, the conditions that night made it a bit eerie, with the wind and tumbleweeds blowing all across the roads. I can tell you it was not a tumbleweed that I saw either. It was dark in color, and you could see the gait of the legs pumping itself forward. So that's my story, and here's my finely tuned masterpiece. I would have colored it, but I couldn't find any crayons. All right, I'm just gonna put this in front of the screen to show it off. Show off your handiwork. There it is. That is a masterpiece. You guys got it? All right, there we go. All right, well, thanks for that email, Shar. If anything, that might knee-jerk somebody who has seen something on the same strip of highway to email us. All right? Military installations, military bases, that's a no-brainer. Why? I don't know. I don't know why, but it is. All right, DNA. This is titled DNA. It's a short one. Hello, Steve. Several months back, I'd sent you an email asking you about what ethnic background of the DNA, mDNA, to which you had stated you were unsure and that I should reach out to Dr. Melba Ketchum, which I did. The conversation went, "Thank you for your response. So the mtDNA found in the Sasquatch samples did show which human race they're descended from?" Her response was, yes, it was mostly Middle Eastern and European. I just want to share with you her response. Thank you for your channel and your sharing of the knowledge, both regarding this subject and your views on how freedoms are endangered by tyranny. Thanks again, Jim. Okay, Jim, thanks for that, man. Interesting, isn't it, the DNA? And we cannot wait to hear back from Hedger, who has access to over 200 samples and the results. I'm pretty sure it's going to be no different than what Melba as share with everybody. Gonna be very interesting. This is titled In the Woods, which I am now. Steve, my encounter takes place in the spring of '88, March or April. I'm 62 and I can't recall which one exactly. It takes place in northwest Louisiana in South Bossier Parish, where I was living at the time. I was living next to Barksdale Air Force Base. At the time, it was part of SAC, where the B-52 bomb wing of the 8th Air Force was stationed. At that time, it held one of the largest WSA in the U.S. weapons storage areas, nukes. As was my custom, at around 2000 hours, I went to a local park that had a half-mile walking track and sat at the end of the flight line, aka the end of the runway, setting on public land. The base sets on federal land with a large game reserve surrounding it. It has several bayous, lakes, and creeks. If my thinking is correct, it's over 3,000 acres. One evening while taking my walk, which consisted of 6 laps around the park, or 3 miles, I became acutely aware of a presence that can only be described as evil, foreboding. My flight senses were screaming. Steve, at the time, I was 6'2", 315 pounds, been involved in martial arts, wrestling, powerlifting, could bench press nearly 500 pounds. I also had been bar bouncing since the age of 18. But this thing, whatever it was, had me beat from the start. Whatever it was, felt like it was breathing down my neck. As I continued my walk, I said to myself, "You're not going anywhere. I'm not running from anything I could not see." This feeling stayed with me the whole time I was walking. I kept looking over my shoulder to see what was behind me, but nothing was there. I did notice the closer I got to the part of the track that was next to the woods, the stronger the feeling of dread became. When I finished my walk and exited the park, the feeling subsided. When I returned to the park the next night, everything was back to normal. Well, Steve, that's my story. I've been listening to your channel for some time now, and after hearing what other people have described, it seems that a close encounter with a sabe might be the best explanation of what I encountered. Thanks for all you're doing. Be safe in them woods, my friend. Respectfully yours, I am Jeff Ware. Jeff, thanks for that, man. Appreciate it. Now that you've cracked that one in the open, I have a funny feeling that somebody else is going to crack one open from the same area. It's almost like you can count on it at this point of the game. Thanks again, man, and be safe out there. And it's actually one thing I was thinking about tapping on that, the feeling everybody gets, is I was daydreaming about this when I was just coming down the logging road here, the dirt road here. And I was wondering if these things, the absolute fear that they can inflict to our core, I wonder if they can intentionally make a human being have a heart attack. I wonder. Be interesting to know, wouldn't it? I'll bet they could. Like an honest to God, I don't mean a heart attack where people have a heart condition already and then they have a hair-raising experience and it makes them shit their pants and fall over and have a heart attack. But I mean, I wonder if they can make a healthy person who doesn't have a clue all of a sudden have a freaking heart attack and fall over dead. That'd be interesting to know that. That'd also be a shitty thing to know, actually, too, wouldn't it? All right, here's one from near us. It's titled Cultus Lake. Hi, Steve. Happy New Year. This story is just a short story. Back in '76, myself and 3 other friends drove out to Cultus Lake. I was 20 at the time. We went there to have a couple of beer and hang out together. We drove to the last parking lot and sat on the logs talking about cars and girls. Ended up same parking lot. We were there for about an hour. The sun was gone, but still light to see across the lake. We're getting ready to leave. But we went for a short walk to a point in the lake to see the side of the cave. 5-minute walk. Oh, side of the cove, 5-minute walk. As we came around the corner, I can only guess about 100 yards out on the beach, a bear on 2 feet. As we watched it coming toward us, my buddy who grew up with bears said, "That's no bear." We all focused in on it, and in less than 10 seconds, we ran for the car in the parking lot. And that took about 2 minutes. We drove out instantly. We were a little freaked out. Monster was the first thing we said. We knew nothing about Bigfoot in those days, but it was tall and hairy. There was nobody else the whole time we were there. On the way out of the park, we saw the park ranger. We told him what we saw, and he said, "You're not the only ones." Sometime later, telling the story, someone said, "Bigfoot is what you saw." I believe we saw a Bigfoot. I called my buddy who grew up with a lot of bears. He's the one that said, "That's no bear." He's 68 now, and I'm 66. He's never forgot that day. He lives in Sussex and hunts with a bow. I live in Victoria, camp a lot. I'll keep my eyes open. Keep it alive, Steve. Appreciate every story. Sussex is in New Brunswick. Okay, Larry, thanks for that, man. Yeah, Cultus Lake, there's a whole pile of sightings around there. Lots. And if you're really interested in these things, you live in Victoria, the closest place for you to go and have a walk would be Humpback Road. If you can still access that road, I haven't a clue. But there's definitely a population in the watershed, the Soup watershed above there. 110% for certain. Closest area for you to go snoop around. Actually, I used to go bow hunting off of Humpback Road when I was a kid, and I smelt that disgusting stink once there. We left Humpback Road down the power lines, me and a buddy. We were about 200 yards from pavement. Smelt it like, holy shit, something's dead in there. And we were gonna go snoop around in there, see if it was a hit and run deer or whatever. On the way back, we came back, the smell was gone. And I circled around that whole thing and the smell was gone. So go figure, right? But then later on, I heard of a lady RCMP officer who was on Humpback Road and 3 or 4 across the road in front of her car while she's in it. Sorry, I'm getting off track. But anyways, Cultus Lake, lots of action out there. Always has been. And welcome to the Club of No Return, right? Alright. I don't know what this is about. I don't know if I read this or not. I mean, I'm sorry. Marked it as read. We're Kindred Spirits, Part 1. Warning, long email. Doesn't look too long to me, but here we go. Hello, Steve. My name is Dan. Not only can you share my name, you can share my email at kilak333@hotmail.com. As you like, I am not afraid, haven't been since 1993 when I shared this the first time, what I saw with my best friend. I'm honored to call myself a member of the Round Table and, like you, would die fighting for a better world. I came to your channel for the stories. I got so much more. Thank you, brother. We don't always see eye to eye on other topics, but that's okay. Something most people have forgotten. That it's okay to disagree. That's how we learn things, by sharing viewpoints in a safe, positive way. Your January 9th video towards the end, where you talk about never being able to look in the woods and not think of them, is so true. My life changed the winter of 1990 in Lower Michigan on my parents' property. That connected to 80 acres of woodland that was my playground all my life. Now 47, almost a day has not gone by that I haven't thought about what I saw and the many people I've talked to about it. Winter 1990, I woke up to fresh snow on the ground. I was excited to take our quad out on our trails behind our house. About 10 acres back on the trail I was riding on, I noticed a trail of footprints and was like, who the hell's been on our property? So I shut up the quad, hop off, and took a closer look, only to find out they were not boot prints, but what looked like human footprints in the snow. Then my concern wasn't who the hell is on our property, it was who the hell is walking out here barefoot in the snow. So I fired the quad back up, followed the trail until the footprints went off the trail into the trees. At this point, I'd blocked out what I found because it made even less sense than barefoot prints in the snow, and it wasn't until one of your stories unlocked it in my brain. I followed the footprints to a tree and they just stopped. I remember walking around trying to figure out what the hell. After that, I had seen a show about Bigfoot, started by checking out every book I could get my hands on about Bigfoot, trying to find an answer that never came. The question, are they real? I kept what I saw to myself because I figured no one would believe me, and that is how it stayed for about 4 years. Road trip 94. After graduation, me and a buddy that lived just down the road from me rented a house just down from my parents' house. No one had lived there in years, which comes into play later. It was a perfect place for a first place. Being that age, we had lots of parties to throw and was out of town for far enough to not bother the neighbors. Him and I needed to do something that was a 2-hour drive away and was just bullshitting, and somehow started talking about aliens and things like that. I decided it was time to share about the footprints I had seen, so I did. He was quiet for a while and then said, "You're gonna think I'm crazy too." Here's my friend's story. We worked at the same place, and often he would be at our place and I would be at work, and vice versa. He was there and I was at work, and he decides to take a shower and a nap, as we had plans for the party that night. So he turned the stereo on low in the living room and laid on the couch to take a nap. He was dozing off, thought he heard someone knock on the door. So he yells, "Come on in," as this was pre-cell phones and people would often just stop by. After a few minutes, no one came in, and he got up to check to see if someone in fact was there. He walked into the mudroom, and on the right side of the door was louvered frosted glass. Then he said he saw someone taller than him run from the door past the louvered glass. All he could make out was the person was taller than him and had long hair. The three problems that was, my buddy is 6'5". We only had one friend with long hair, and he was only 5'9". Number 3, we lived in the country, excuse me, where people often shot first and asked questions later. We also both mentioned to each other of the feeling of being watched when we first moved in, which I would have chalked up as being out on our own for the first time if we had not lived on this road our whole lives. The plan. So him and, I think he spelled a typo there, the plan. So him and I decided on that drive to keep what we knew to ourselves for now. Ask our many friends that had been there if they had seen anything odd without letting them know what we were doing, so as not to get people either freaked out or lying about it. A friend with long hair said he thought he saw someone with long hair walk past the bathroom window late at night and thought it was odd since he was mostly the only person we knew with long hair. Other buddy said he was crashing on the couch and got up in the middle of the night and take a piss and thought he saw someone walk past the big bay window. Of course, us being young guys, we didn't know what curtains were. It wasn't until my girlfriend and later wife moved in that curtains got put up, which leads me into the next story. Just a bad dream? About a year later, my buddy had moved out and my girlfriend, now wife, moved. We were chatting and she mentioned she had a bad dream last night, and I was, "Really? What was it about?" She said something with red glowing eyes looking at her through the window. She comes from a strict Christian upbringing and did not think Bigfoot was real, but we had curtains on all the windows not much later after that, and still says it was a dream to this day. Now the bloody scream. Me and two buddies were just hanging out in the driveway by our cars, and out of nowhere we heard the loudest, blood-curdling scream coming from across the street that was all woods. So we were like, let's go check it out. We were young and used to carry baseball bats and broken shovel handles in our cars because you never knew when a rival school might want to fight. We walked from the driveway to the edge of the forest on the other side of the road and peered into the forest. Another scream. This time it was much louder and much closer than the distance we had traveled. We just looked at each other and said, "All right, catch you later." And we all left and never talked about it again. And that's the last story at the location, but much more to come as I have talked to many people over the 30 years, and as we are finding out, once you have been exposed, somehow you notice more and more. I've included a picture of the area this happened. I have tried to include only the details that are important to the story, as I know what I had for lunch that day is not important, LOL. If you have any pointers for the next emails, please let me know. Sometimes I wish I could go back in time and pull the spark plug wire in that quad so it would not start up and I would not have been sent down this path and not to think of them every day. But if me sharing my stories through up helps even one person, it would have been worth it. Keep up the fight, you're not alone. Being a focal point for the rest of us to find our own courage is very important. My favorite quote is, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." Much more to come, Dan. And there's the screenshot, and that's very rural, Dan. Lots of timber around there. I'm going to show the screen of this one again. I think it's a lot easier than what I have to go through to try to get a photograph from my notes onto my computer at home. But is there enough light there? I don't know. Hope so. Think so. There you go. There's where it all went down and probably still goes down today, right? The sun's going down or it's getting cloudier. Oh, what? Oops. There goes the phone into the river. See what else we got. That battery's getting a little low, so I'll avoid babbling and keep sharing. Alright. This is titled Need to Explain. Alright. All ears. Hi, Steve John again. First off, please relay that Sarah needs to stop torturing us single men with those killer recipes. Dang, man, that rib roll looked absolutely killer good. Wow. You have an awesome lady there, and don't ever forget to let her know how much you appreciate her. Okay, Matt? All good. I have to address this subject because it's making me almost sick to my stomach every time I hear it on the channel. All these people that make the comment, I want to see one so much, it makes me so nervous every time I see someone make that comment. I need people to understand something here. I had a father that had secrets he could never speak of because of what he did for the U.S. government. He knew about these things because of the training he had received by that same government. When I had my first experience and had returned home and told him about it, his advice to me was to never share what I had seen with anyone other than my friend that had been with me at the time or him. I asked him point blank, Dad, what was that thing? He looked at me and told me in the Cherokee language, they are called forest ancients, but you would know them as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I remember the shock I felt and all the memories of how he used to take us boys out in the middle of the forest, hand us a map, protractor, and compass, and point at the map and say, truck will be here. And he would mark the map and tell us, see you when you get there. Don't be late for dinner or I'm eating it. I don't know if he came back and followed us or not, but I can't imagine he would just leave us unprotected that way. I always made a spear first off. Really, not much more than a sharpened stick, but I felt better with it in my hand, lol. Just saying. Anyway, I've been alone in the woods since the age of 7 years old, and that is how old I was when my father started teaching me about reading maps and how to use a compass and protractor to plot your course and know what to expect for terrain on that course. Now forward to my first encounter. Granted, the most I ever saw of that thing was from the waist down and absolutely blew my mind. Everything I had known was a lie. That was the first thought that went through my head was, what the hell? I cannot get over the speed or agility of that thing. Oh my goodness. It was just scary. When that rock came down that hill, I could hear the speed and strength of it, that it was thrown with, and it sheared off that tree between my buddy and I. My world changed in that millisecond because I knew, beyond any doubt, man is not at the top of the food chain, and we have been lied to all this time. Yes, we have. People keep saying, I want to see one, I want to see one. No, you really don't. You seriously really don't. You can never look at anything the same way ever again. Your entire reference to life is altered in ways you can't even find the words to explain. Actively seeking to see one of these things is just stupid in my opinion, and you will not walk away from it unchanged. I promise you that. I absolutely agree. I shared my experiences with the BFRO, and that turned out to be a huge mistake. I got one phone call, and they kept telling me I needed to change details of what I had seen because it would be too upsetting for open media. I told them I cannot unsee what I saw, so it's told to you exactly how it happened to me, and I can't change what it was. Matt Money Grubber has got to be the most useless investigator on the planet and is so full of his own hype he can't see the forest for the trees. And you ask, why does he attack those that have seen what he has not? Because if you tell the truth and it comes out that he knows absolutely nothing about these beings, where does that leave his funding? Here's the thing that people need to know about all of the people at the big effing ripoff. Not a single one of them has actually ever seen one of these beings in person. None of them. Dwell on that for a bit and tell me again what experts they are. I've had 4 experiences with these things face to face, and I can't say I enjoyed any of them. At each experience, I know beyond a shadow of doubt If they wanted me dead, I'm dead. Period. There would have been nothing I could do to stop them. Nothing. Just keep that in mind when you wish you could see one. I would not think you truly do. Your reality will never be the same again. Just some food for thought. Thank you, Steve, for what you do here, getting to openly speak about these experiences and the way they affect you and the way they affect how you perceive reality from that moment on is more of a blessing than most of the people listening can ever comprehend. Thank you so much, all you do, in being the voice of reason in these troubled times, and thank you. Good hunting and fishing, my friend. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. One day I'll cast a line next to you and we can fish together and just hear the sound of peace for a few minutes, maybe. You take care now. Here, John Bowen. John, appreciate you, man. There's plenty of room right here, as you can see. Plenty of room. Yeah, I don't know. I won't even start talking about that group. I know there's a whole bunch of good people that are there, and a lot of them have emailed me, and they told me flat out the only reason they're there is for access to the data they have accumulated, and that's it. And they know how dirty and filthy it is at the top. It is what it is. We've left them behind in the dirt at this stage. Left them behind in the dirt. Moving forward. What do you think? Maybe one more? I can't even see the battery. I'll try it. What do we got? Looking in the window, vocal counter, sharing thoughts. There's so many. There's so many. Alright, hopefully I got time for this. This is titled Fourth Attempt, Getting My Story to You. It probably got to me the first attempt. It just hasn't been read yet. Hello, Steve. Hoping this is the proper email address to share your stories. My name is Ryan. I live in Oregon. I've been enjoying the outdoors since I can remember. In the past, I was never afraid of being in the woods or out in the country unless the weather was sketchy and there was a possibility of getting lost or stranded. And even then, the fear was minimal because I was always prepared for that just in case. When I was 16-ish years old, my friend and I were fishing at Detroit Lake, which is located about 50 miles east of Salem, which is the state capital. The lake is very popular in the late spring, early summer, so there's always a good amount of people there. My friend and I were fishing by the marina, which is part of the lake that's closest to the town of Detroit. That part of the lake has a lot of boat traffic, so my friend and I decided to row our canoe away from all the traffic and headed towards the part of the lake that runs parallel to the lake. Just under half a mile from the marina is a little island in the lake called Deer Island. So there's about 100 to 125 yards of water between the island and land. I've never seen a deer anywhere near that island, but I suppose considering that short distance between the mainland and the island, it's possible deer have found their way to the island along with other critters. As we near the island, both my buddy and I hook into a fish at the same time, which normally we wouldn't. It's alright. Which normally wouldn't be weird, except for both fish were really good-sized rainbows, like 22 to 24 inches, and they were swimming in the opposite direction, but both were headed away from the island. No sooner did we get our fish in the boat, we started to hear this splashing sound, so we rowed closer to the island. We didn't see anything, but the wind picked up in our direction, and there was a very awkward smell, like wet dog, and your shoes get when they're wet and end up drying in the trunk of your car or something that lacks ventilation. At the time the smell hit my nose, it forced me to look down at the water, and I never thought that trout schooled up, but about 300 trout came swimming past us, away from the island, where the splash noise was coming from, but they were really close to the surface. We all made mention of it being weird. Not just the school of fish, but the last 10 minutes as a whole. Anyway, I tell my buddy to start rowing towards the island because I had to piss. As we get closer, he says that he can hear branches breaking, which I could too, but I chalked it up to wind knocking stuff off the trees. I jump out of the canoe, walk in the brush a bit because there are sheriff deputies on boats, and they will not hesitate to write you up if they see you pissing in the bushes. No shit. So I wander in there, and the wind is kind of ripping, so I can't hear very well, but I can hear my buddy yelling something behind me, but I couldn't make it out, so I didn't even bother to acknowledge him. Plus I had to piss so bad, so that had the majority of my concentration. That was until I saw the Marionberry bush to my right sway side to side about 2 feet in either direction. So I knew it wasn't the wind, when all of a sudden the wind came my direction along with that smell again. Meanwhile, my buddy's losing his shit loudly. Just as the smell hit my nose, this dark to medium brown creature pops up with his back to me and takes off running really fast, and I mean super fast. Before I know it's gone. Still in shock a bit, I start to gather my thoughts together, and I notice my legs cold and wet. Right then, my buddy runs up to me and says, "Dude, could you not hear me?" There was like a gray, 9 to 10 foot hairy man like 20 feet from you just watching you. Apparently, I walked right by him. I said no, but I saw the 3.5 to 4 foot tall brown one run out of the bushes and piss down my leg. We rolled back to the truck, and on our way out, we stopped by one of the 2 stores in town, and I said something to the lady at the counter about our experience, and of course, she looked at me like I was special and was speaking Chinese to her, like she felt sorry for me but wasn't understanding what I was saying. On our way out to the store, this old-timer stops me and waves us over to his truck. He overheard what I had said to old girl and proceeds to tell me that in the 50 years he's been in this town, and in those woods, that nobody has ever seen the Squatches on the island or on that side of the lake before, but said they have been seen all up and down the Brighton Bush River and Road. So that's like 2 miles from the island, heading east on the lake, and the river empties into the lake, so not far from where we saw him. After hearing that, I immediately remembered a camping trip we had gone on when I was like 7 or 8, and we were sitting around the fire. Just then, we all started to get this really overwhelming feeling. Just then, someone or something started throwing rocks at us, and when my uncle went to confront them, he came running back, telling us to get in the truck now, and we left. Everything there, and there's some punctuation missing, okay, if you haven't figured it out yet. I've never heard another word about it, and that wasn't due to lack of effort, because I was like a pit bull with a chew toy. I wouldn't let it go. To this day, he won't talk about it, but at that moment, that old man told us that it all made sense. Funny thing is, right after he said that, and I came to my epiphany, the old timer looks at me and says, "Pissed yourself, eh?" We laughed so hard, I about did it again. Thanks, Steve, for giving us witnesses a platform to talk about our experiences, because just like my uncle, people are afraid to talk about it, whether it's fear or ridicule or just plain scared, because unfortunately, mankind has always feared what we don't understand. So true. You gotta wonder how many people just walk right by them. Man, it's getting dark. What time is it? 6:15. Well, I better get going home. I wonder how many times, sometimes I wonder how many times I've walked right by one. Just like you did, and your buddy seen that thing standing there and you're walking right by it. It's not hard. I mean, I don't know how many times I've just stood just inside the timber dead still and seen people walking, hunters or whoever. Human beings are easy. So easy. When you're in the timber, in the forest, humans are just they're so simple. If you sit still, not moving, a little bit of cover, they walk right by every time. Trail cameras too. All you gotta do is put a trail camera about 8 feet in the air, pointed down to the trail. People never look up. Humans just don't look up. They don't look up much, actually. I had 8 people with snowshoes on this last winter. All went walking that way past a camera I had sitting right here, straight on the trail, which I never do because I've never had anybody on that trail in over 10 years. And they all turned around and came back and walked right by the camera and not one of them seen it. Right in front of their face. But anyway, who knows how many times we've walked right by those beings, and they keep however they do it, they avoid our sixth sense when they decide to, possibly, right? What a skill. Anyways, promised to do a pan on the shoreline. So I get a lot of people saying they see shit on this shoreline when I'm filming. So let's zoom up and see. If all the Hawkeyes out there might think they see something. And that'll get going.